1930 to 2021, 90 years plus 4 months. That is the span of life of Christian Cardinal Tumi on earth, that he spent on earth to give us what he left behind. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Viewpoint. In this special edition, we are looking at the legacy of Christian Cardinal Tumi, whom the world got the news that he passed on to eternity on the night of the 2nd, breaking the 3rd of April 2021 here in Douala. In today's edition of the program, we are looking at Cardinal Christian Tumi from different perspectives. And with me in the studio, we have those who would talk to us about his life, about who he was. Permit me receive Shey Tardze Adamou. He is the president of Bongnafti Douala and automatically the first vice president of Nsoda, that is Nso Development and Cultural Association. Good evening, Shey, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Good evening, Mr. Venasius, and I feel delighted to be here.
Actually, it is our pleasure having you to talk about this illustrious son of Cameroon, Christian Cardinal Tumi, and as the president of Bongnafti here in Douala, we should say without mixing words that he was your subject.
Automatically, he was my subject, and sometimes I wondered if I was worthy enough to have him as a subject.
Of course.
And playing that role of a leader.
Mm-hmm. Leading him when it comes to some aspects of life, mm-hmm. but automatically subjecting myself to him when it comes to spiritual counseling. Of course. Yeah. That is what we, in fact, all of us Cameroonians, we had when it comes to spiritual matters. He was the lone cardinal in Cameroon, the only cardinal right up till now, perhaps the only cardinal in the sub-African region, that's in the Semak zone. He was the only cardinal as of now. Accompanying Shey Tardze Adamou is, of course, he's not a new person, Dr. Ngwanyam. Good evening, Doctor, and thank you for being there for us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about His Eminence Christian Cardinal Tumi. It's a real pleasure.
Pleasure for us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let us take a look at Christian Cardinal Tumi. Like I said, he was a clergyman. He was ordained in 1966 in Boya, and he was consecrated a bishop in Rome by Saint Pope John Paul II. He was named a cardinal in 1988 by Saint Pope John Paul II. In today's edition of the program, we are looking at his legacy, and we begin from looking at Christian Cardinal Tumi as a clergyman. And before we get to look at his religious life that he lived for this 90 years plus 4 months, we want to begin. Shey, I begin with you. Who was Christian Cardinal Tumi to you as an individual?
As an individual, Christian Cardinal Tumi was a father and a counselor. Mm-hmm. Because as a leader of the community, in 3 occasions, I didn't have a lot of encounters with him. Mm-hmm. No, in 3 occasions, I've had to go to him to seek his opinion on how to handle certain crucial issues. And I must tell you, he's a very welcoming fellow. Mm-hmm. If you sit with him just for 10 minutes, you can gain wisdom that can help you for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Because he addresses matters in a very succinct and very calm manner. Mm-hmm. And then he has this look that when he looks at you, you can feel his mind being transmitted through the look.
Mm-hmm. A
searching look. And, mm-hmm. and you can be able to debug so much he is telling you without using words. Mm-hmm. He's sometimes like warning you. He's sometimes like trying to say, I want you to lead the people faithfully. Mm-hmm. I want you to be somebody with integrity. I want you to be truthful. And during my last encounter with him, I remember he told me, be accountable. Mm-hmm. And you can understand where he's coming from.
Of course.
We are living in a very corrupt society, mm-hmm. where leaders take advantage of their positions and they can siphon public wealth or money meant for the development of the community and mm-hmm. so on. So in other words, he was warning me and saying, you have to make sure you are accountable. I have been told have heard that young people have this
tendency
on unexplained desire for money. That is not theirs. There's nothing wrong in wanting to have money, but you should have that which belongs to you, and that is what he actually meant. So my encounters with him were very memorable. That immediately I learned he had gone, I had time reflecting and replaying the tape in my mind, and obviously I must tell you I miss him. He is one of the few leaders or the great men that so ever had. When this morning I was thinking about his generation, and when I looked at those who lived his era, it's difficult to think about those people without thinking about Professor Nsokeka Bernard Fonlon.
Bernard Fonlon, yes.
You cannot think about him without thinking about people like
Archbishop Paul Vedrekov.
Bishop Paul Vedrekov. There's no way you can think about him without going back to people like
Professor Lantum Daniel.
Professor Daniel Lantum. And those who also created an impact in Scotland, like Pa Bitisaka,
yes.
who constructed the BCGE. People like Shey Lukong.
Yes. Shey
Olu. Yes, they were popularly called Olu.
Yes.
You know, those people, something I could summarize this morning is that they had a great taste for knowledge. They had a great taste for humanity. They wanted to see society evolve. And they did just that. I was just looking and I said, of that generation, it seems he was the last standing. And now that he is gone, we just need to be asking ourselves, what is it we are going to do to complete that which they started, and perhaps do it much better? What are we going to do? There is so much that we need to do again in terms of recanalizing our youthful minds to make sure they match their path. Because to be able to match the path of Christian Cardinal Tumi, to be able to match the path of Bernard Fonlon, to be able to match the path of Sylvester
Kilo, yes.
And Bishop
Vedrekov,
yes.
You must be able to develop certain traits, certain characteristics that will serve as push factors, and be able to come out of the current world we are living in, because the present society is too complex.
So they were like living. You said he was the last person. He was like they were living their own world, completely different from what we have this time. Full of corruption.
I think what helped and shaped them is that besides the exposure to the academic world, most of them they studied outside. Lantum went to Ibadan.
Cardinal
went
and
to France and so on.
Yes.
Besides being exposed to the world, they were exposed, but still had the undertones.
That which was
their culture. Is their culture, their very foundation. And you remember in those days, the foundation of Nso, which we expect should still be now, was unique. Nso was founded on the truth. Nso was founded on humanity. Nso was founded on communal life. When I mention these things, I remember when I was growing as a young boy in Ma village, part of what they call Kum subdivision now. If somebody's purse fell along the footpath, you pick it, you make sure you tie it with a small rope to a small stick,
yes,
and pin the stick such that it is bending to the pathway. So even if the person stays wherever he went to for a month and comes back, there's no way he will pass along the footpath without seeing his purse. But now they seize it from your pocket.
Yes,
that's something that wasn't. I remember if it was announced that somebody died in the village, every woman went into his closet, got corn flour, got vegetable, and go straight to the funeral home. And when we get to the funeral home, all the flour is kept in one big basket, all the vegetables were brought together, and the women in the quarter participate in picking the vegetables and all the cooking, and they are able to feed everyone who came to the funeral home. The funeral is done, or the burial is done on the same day. And the men actively take part. The youths know what they should do. They are responsible with their youthful energy for digging the grave, for standing the grave, for burying the whoever died. And that is communal life. In fact, it is part of human philosophy that I like. What you hear in Africa, the Ubuntu.
Yes.
I am because you are.
You are
so,
because we are.
Bernard Fonlon and Cardinal Tumi, they are part of that generation that they lived because others were. They didn't live for themselves. They made sure they incorporated that idea into their minds. And that's why Cardinal Tumi was so selfless. He is not among those who will amass wealth, have things around them, and then have things they can call personal. And if you look at it, you try to look at those priests that revolve around him, or the generation that he ordained, and the way they try to practice their spiritual life, find out they tend to have that tendency because of that counseling.
All right, Shey, we'll come back to you. Let's take Dr. Nick. When Shey was speaking, he said he was like a spiritual counselor to him. And he has indicated an issue where he insisted, be accountable. You should certainly have had the opportunity to know Cardinal Tumi at a level, at a personal level. Who was Cardinal Tumi to you?
Thank you very much. I knew Cardinal Tumi as a Christian, and I believed in him and what he stood for. And he knows my wife and her family. You know, my wife Florence, she grew with Dr. Ndi in Bambui when the Cardinal was there. So he knew that family very well, and so we kind of like just got on, and were part of his ministry, whatever he was doing. And you just knew that this was a great father, a great priest, someone you could relate with. And I kept a close eye and a close ear on him. Then it is in 1993 when I was facing the rocks. When sometimes you come to a place where you are caught between the hammer and the hard place. When you get to that place, then it is only other human beings that are trustworthy, that you can count on, that can help you. And that moment came to my life in 1993 when I was working in Betua, where a young man called Adamou Luis was killed, and I had to say what happened, because there were two stories: that he had been poisoned, that he had been killed. I came out with the fact that he had been killed, and I had to say it at the risk of my own life. So it's at that moment that I drew close to the Cardinal for advice and protection. I drew very close to Bishop Verzekov, and I came very close to Dr. Solomon Fogwe, and I came closer to Professor Victor Anomangu. But amongst the three of them, I had known Professor Anomangu for many years, starting from 19 when did I go to medical school again? 1977. I went to medical school in QC in 1977. So he was my professor, and after that I worked with him and so on. And then he is Professor Anomangu as minister who gave me the WHO scholarship to go to Nairobi and London and study. So he was guiding me in the profession, so to speak. And I really, by my being a surgeon was not an accident. I wanted to be like him. So that is someone I hung on a lot. So I had these four people who are guiding me, and so when I ran into trouble, these four were by me. And so the Cardinal started to feed me feed my spirit in a particular way, and to strengthen me, and to show me the way, and to encourage me, and so on. And every word of his, that fell in my spirit was not lost. He doesn't speak too much. He's a very responsible person, and therefore when he gives you 5 minutes of his time,
yes,
whatever you're doing with him, you should make sure that you don't let his word drop. Okay, because he doesn't waste words, he doesn't waste time, and so on. And what you come to realize about him is that he works on principles. He's not there talking or trying to make you feel good or something. He works on principles, and he has so many other people to attend to. So the little time you have with him, when you use it properly, it would always yield fruits. All right. And so that was the relationship. And then something changed. Something changed in 2008. Something changed in 2008, and the country has been going through a lot of difficulties. Let me say that from 2003, I became particularly interested in politics. The idea was to try to see, what can I bring on board as a contribution, so to help our nation grow. And I was in the SDF at the time, but over time I realized that there was something that was not exactly right. There was something that was not exactly right, because I don't just follow a crowd. I take time off to study and to find out what works, what doesn't work, why do things work, why don't they work, and so on. And you see, after the presidential elections and a couple of other things, there was a lot of trouble in the nation, and I had to look at the root causes and see what is the way forward, and so on. And I realized that the way the party was structured, there was something that was not exactly right. So with time, I withdrew, and I was in the civil society, so to speak. So in 2008, that's when the story begins. In 2008, where I think it might be the 7th or the 8th of December of 2008, I was on a mission going to the United States was on a business trip with the American with business people put together by the U.S. Embassy. And so I passed by him to greet him and to have his blessings and just to say hello. And that is the day that my life changed. That day my life changed. In what ways? I had a nice conversation with him, as always, and just before I left, like you talk just about everything, then it's like, okay, see you next time. And then a thought came into my mind, and that thought, because I asked the questions, that thought and his answers changed my life from then on. And those thoughts and his answers are going to change Cameroon. All right, because I made up my mind. Yeah. It became a bridge. It became a vision, and it became I don't know what. I'm focused on it. Let me explain. As I'm about to leave, remember in November of 2008, President Barack Obama is voted president-elect of the U.S.
Yes.
And I'm looking at President Barack Obama, and something is coming to my mind. I am 6 years older than he is. And the other thing, I'm looking at him and say, okay, look at this black guy, this black boy, first generation American. I mean, his father was there, and then he's born there, and he becomes the president. How did he do that? How on earth can somebody do that? You see, I didn't just take it for granted. That was the first question I asked the Cardinal. The second question I asked him, basically, that's the question I asked. And the second question was, how is he going to help Africa? Those two things. And from then on, the conversation took a different turn, and my eyes were opened on a lot of things. And that's the day I got to understand what politics is, and that's the day I got to understand how things should work. And that's the day the foundation was properly laid, and I started to be focused on what I was doing. Number one, he told me that President Obama did not win because he is strong. We keep saying strong people strong. No. No, that's not why he won. President Obama, number one, won because he was on a platform. So the concept of platform was born. Okay, in my mind, it became very clear. So, for instance, if I asked you, how is the world run? This world we see runs on two spiritual platforms. There's the kingdom of God and the kingdom of Satan.
Darkness,
so, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Choose your kingdom. On which platform do you want to run? That's why the Bible says you cannot be lukewarm. Either you must take sides. You must take sides. Either you are with God or you are with Satan. There are no two ways. All right, and then when you are with God, this is what you will get. If you are with Satan, this is what you will get. So from day one, it doesn't matter what you do on this earth. Choose your platform. That's the first thing. I learned that strong lesson of a platform. If you are going to be a Christian, then be a devoted Christian and know what it means to be. And whatever you do should be according to those principles. And point right. Don't be mixing up things. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Good. That's the first lesson I learned. The second, so so in terms of politics, you now understand that when you take somebody like the leader of the SDF at the time, Nijon Frundi, there was this thing in the SDF with punching people. I don't like you, I punch you out.
Yes.
Article 8.2 and so on.
Yes.
And when you are doing that, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You're killing yourself because
internal fighting.
Besides the internal fighting, it's principles. You alone, as a human being, you are not strong. I hope that we all understand that. There is nothing like a strong human being on earth. You don't exist. It is the people who make you strong, and that's the message I want to push. Okay, when you are with people, or you have an institution, know that it is your workers who make you grow. Like the president was saying, he is the president on Sauda, or the vice president on Sauda. He alone, he is nothing. But it is that collection of people managing things well that uplift him, and it's the people who make him big. And if he doesn't respect the people, then he's nothing. He would drop. Are you getting me? It's very, very important. So it doesn't matter where you are working in the house. You are a minister. It doesn't matter who you are. It is the people who make you who you are. It's a very strong message. Then the second thing. So that was a lesson, right? And I'm being very detailed about this because we are not just here to talk about the Cardinal for the sake of talking.
Exactly.
He is gone, but we are talking because we are trying to build something and let
That's
everybody
what we look at his legacy.
Yeah, learn from it.
Yes.
Because like I was telling Mr. Adamou afterwards, we are going to create a foundation where all these things will be packaged and will be taught so that we can continue to
transmit
it and he will continue, though dead, he will continue to live. All right. Now, the other thing that he taught me, if I forget a few things, excuse me. One other thing he said that, and I asked him, so I asked him, how are we going to change Cameroon? How are we going to change Cameroon? He said, watch my lips, good Christians and good Muslims must join politics. And when you join politics, there are two things that you must do. Number one, you must make sure that good policies are put in place. That's what politics is all about. Number two, make sure that those good policies are implemented to the letter. That's all. And then he went forward further to say, if I were not a prelate, I would have joined politics to make sure it's done right. That's it. And then I asked him this question. Don't you think the civil society working very hard can actually do what you are saying without going to politics? Because politics seems to be all over the whole place and doesn't seem to make sense. He said no. It doesn't matter how hard the civil... And that's another question he answered in a very emphatic way. He said no. It is the policies that run the country. It doesn't matter what you do in the civil society. If you cannot change the policies, nothing would happen. Okay. All right. Okay. And therefore, he forced me now to begin to look at ways and means of contributing into policy change. Are you getting me? And that's why I joined the politics, not because I just want to be there as a hand clapper, but to begin to work with those principles. And these are some of the things that he said before you take the microphone. Be the salt and the light of the earth. Number two, do unto others as you want it done unto you. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
Be the salt and the light of the world, and the golden rule, do unto others what you want them do unto you. We are talking about Tumi already in politics. Shey, there was something here that Cardinal Tumi wanted to become a president. He was vying for the presidential post in Cameroon, which certainly you would have followed.
Sure.
Yes. When you got it, did it make any sense to you?
When I got that information, at starting from 1990, when I was just coming out of secondary school, and multi-partism was setting in, and like Dr. Nick just mentioned, people were looking up to the SDF, and then at that time I started becoming very keen, listening to party policies, listening to where they want to take us to, and where things didn't go right. Cardinal Tumi played his role, and his role is that of ensuring that those who take part in the politics do it the right way, so that the right results are obtained. When he became so vocal, people started thinking that he's looking up to the political seat.
Yes.
And so the idea of him wanting or possibly being the president is not what he said. He didn't say, I want to run for the presidency. It is the silent wish of some Cameroonians, because they
were
already
seeing in him
the qualities of what
leader.
they want. They were already wishing that somebody could be up there that can be able to refocus the minds of Cameroonian leaders or the political leadership towards what Cameroonians want to obtain. And so when you started hearing it coming, it was just a silent way of saying that's what people... I know you journalists are very smart at trying to push it down the throat.
Yes.
So, and at the point they are doing that, they are wishing that he will say, yes, I want to stand.
Yes.
But he told us categorically, he is not there for that. Rather, he played the role that as a priest, he should play while in the secular world, where he interacts with a lay person.
Faithful, yes.
He preaches to you the spirit of tolerance. He preaches to you the truth. And you know that the concept of the truth is applicable even in social, political, economic life.
Exactly, the truth cuts across every
The
sector.
truth cuts across. When these virtues evaporate from our political platform, we will have leadership that cause pain. That make people feel pain, and they don't feel the... You know, when at times you see people desecrate, they'll say they desecrated the seal or the flag. Why would somebody who is so patriotic desecrate his own flag? That's just to tell you that the person, that patriotism has left that person. The person is angry. Now, why would somebody be angry? They are looking up to leadership. And so the Cardinal's role was that of trying to change the political
mindset.
thinking of our leaders. Dr. Ngwanyam just mentioned the article
8.2.
8.2.
Yeah, I've always called it the article of intolerance.
No chances for errors.
No chances for errors. But you realize that when you look at, he mentioned Obama. Obama emerged because they had strong institutions, not strong people. You have a strong democratic institution. You had a strong legal system. You have a strong economic system. Everything is strong, and the rule of law is firm and just.
Okay, the rule of law is firm and just. I would love us to continue talking about Christian Cardinal Tumi, and we can talk the whole day talking about him. But for want of time, when we come back in part 2 of this discussion, we would look at other issues concerning him, probably about the Anglophone crisis and his quest for peace and justice. That is all we had time for this first part of this discussion. Up next will be the news in the English language, and we will be back again to talk more on it on part 2. Goodbye.